This is SportsLine.
Hey there, SportsLine on your television. Steve Layman here with you. Glad you are here with us on this Monday night on News Channel 5 Plus. And we'll open up the phone line, 737-7767, the number, if you'd like to get in on the conversation tonight. And there's plenty of things to talk about. It has been a massive several days for sports here in the Nashville community. Of course, the huge week for the Predators last week. Pekka Rinne's jersey retirement on Thursday and a massive win over the Stars at Bridgestone Arena. Then Saturday, the Stadium Series game with nearly 69,000 people packing Nissan Stadium. The hype, the music, the atmosphere was all amazing. Unfortunately, the Predators did not come up with a win. But that was all last week. Now you look ahead, if you're the Predators, towards a 2-month push to the finish line and hopefully an 8th consecutive appearance in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Nashville SC started last night with an impressive win in Seattle against the Sounders, 1-0. Anibal Godoy scoring in the 82nd minute to help Nashville pull out a win on opening night. The MLS Team of the Week for week number 1 by going up to Seattle and beating a Sounders team that last year was the #1 seed in the Western Conference. So look at that. Nashville moves over to the Western Conference this year, and right out of the gate, a nice win up there against the Seattle Sounders. So good for them. And of course, college basketball coming down to the stretch run here. Tennessee with that massive win over Auburn over the weekend. The Vols now in a 3-way tie for second place, just a game back of the Tigers in the SEC race. So it's all going to come down here to the final week. Tigers have the inside track because they're a game up and their remaining schedule is the easiest of the 4. But you're still alive. And for Tennessee, this has been an impressive season, given the youth on this roster, a couple of freshmen in the backcourt. And Tennessee has found a way to put itself in position where it has a shot to potentially win a share of an SEC title in the final week of the regular season. But at the very least, set itself up for a very, very good seed, not just in the SEC tournament in Tampa next week, but in the NCAA tournament in a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully give itself a chance to make a postseason run in one or both of those events. And the Vols play at Georgia, last place team in the SEC tomorrow night, and then a big-time game against Arkansas at home on Senior Day Saturday, which should be another incredible environment there. Thompson-Boling Arena, man, let me tell you, it has been electric this season for Tennessee home games. Absolutely electric. And it was again on Saturday against Auburn, and it played a huge factor in that game. Auburn was up 39-28 in the second half. And from that point on, Tennessee outscored the Tigers 39-23. And that building was just delirious. It was going nuts throughout. And it certainly played a factor in that basketball game. So that's what's ahead for Tennessee. Vanderbilt, by the way, home tomorrow night for senior night against Florida. The Commodores, 14-14 overall, trying to get out of one of those 4 spots that has to play on Wednesday night next week of the SEC tournament. And also trying to have a winning record for the first time under Jerry Stackhouse in his 3 seasons there. And it goes back, obviously, into the Bryce Drew era as well. So this Vanderbilt team has made big-time progress, and they would like to finish it out in a way that really illustrates just how far they've come. OVC tournament set up. Belmont, Murray State, top 2 seeds get the double byes. Tennessee State, Austin Peay, Tennessee Tech, all going to play on Wednesday night up in Evansville and would have to win 4 games in 4 days to have the Cinderella run to get into the NCAA tournament. And then, of course, the Atlantic Sun tournament kicking off on Tuesday. First one to go, actually, at least around these parts. Lipscomb will be at home for Game 1 against North Florida. The Bisons also trying to get on a run here because it has been an up-and-down season for Lenny Acuff's team at just 13-18. But they will be at home tomorrow night against North Florida with a chance to get a win and then take on three-time ASUN champ Liberty on Thursday night on the road if they do advance. And how about Middle Tennessee and Nick McDevitt turning things around completely from a year ago? Last season, the Blue Raiders won just 5 games. This season, already above the 20-win mark. They've won 8 consecutive games now and 13 of 14 overall, and are now the Conference USA East Division champions with some hardware to show for it and still a week left in the regular season. This is a team that has been very, very impressive, especially here as of late, and has a shot in the Conference USA tournament to cut down the nets and get the automatic bid and go to the big dance for the first time since Kermit Davis was on the bench down there in the Borough. So lots of things to be excited about. We can certainly discuss that here tonight, 737-7767. But let's start with the Stadium Series game from Saturday night. Huge crowd, 9th largest crowd to ever watch a hockey game in the world. 68,619. A sellout at Nissan Stadium, and the seats were packed. The atmosphere was great. The pyrotechnics, the lighting, the banners, everything around the stadium looked great for a hockey talk game, if you will. It was sort of neon lighting posters. It was very Music City. And then you throw a hockey rink in the middle of a football stadium, and it was truly a home run from a Nashville perspective. It looked great on TV for people watching from around the globe. You had tons of people that came into town for the weekend and got to see all the festivities around the city, whether it be Walk of Fame Park and the concerts going on there, whether it be the stuff outside of the stadium on Saturday, whether it be the Black Hockey Museum tour that came along associated with it. Just so much was right about this event. Nashville did it up well. The performers were excellent. Everything about the stadium setup was good. The weather turned out to be good. Maybe a little chilly by Nashville standards in late February, but that was perfect for playing ice hockey. Getting out there on the skates on the ice. The ice was good for the game. No complaints about that. It was a great night. The only complaint, if you're a Nashville fan, was that the Predators could not beat the Lightning. Steven Stamkos with a third-period goal for some insurance, and the Lightning knock off the Preds by a final of 3-2. But lots of great reaction from another example of Nashville raising the bar. And this is going to be the prompt, I guess, I'll give you if you want to chime in tonight. And again, the phone number on the screen, 737-7767. But we had the conversation last week as the ball started to get rolling about the potential of replacing Nissan Stadium, building a brand new state-of-the-art stadium over there on the east bank of the river to be the home for the Titans and to be the home for a lot of cool and fun events like this moving forward. And we had a lively discussion about it. A lot of people were in favor of it. Some people didn't like what that could potentially mean for taxpayers, what other projects might take the back seat. All that's understandable. But we started the dialogue in response to the dialogue that is apparently now ongoing between Mayor Cooper's office, the city, the CVC, the Titans, and several other of the power brokers in decisions like this around Nashville. Well, when you see an event like what you saw Saturday, that can only increase the desire to do that if you're Nashville. Because once again, this was a chance where you're bringing people in, not just regionally, not just around the state, not just around the country, but truly globally, to come into Nashville to be a part of an event like that on a sports surface inside a stadium or an arena. And it was fantastic. the only complaint you could have about the event, again, besides the Preds just not winning the game, but the only one that you really have control over is the stadium itself. Nissan Stadium didn't necessarily wow anybody that came. It's an old stadium. It's fine. It served its purpose, but it is not a state-of-the-art. It is not a one-of-a-kind. It is not a spectacular venue at this point. That's what was missing. And as we talked about before, Nashville's kind of hit the ceiling for the new events it can bring to town. The Stadium Series, in a lot of ways, was the cherry on top. Because for a long time, people wondered if it would be ever possible to try to play an outdoor hockey game in the South where the winter weather is so unpredictable. You don't know how warm the temperature is going to be. Well, they've figured that out. They've done a great job in maintaining their ice at these outdoor games over the year, and they feel confident that whatever the weather is going to be, that they can put on a game. They got good weather this weekend. It was not an issue at all. But that's kind of the last event on a major scale, at least in the sporting realm, that Nashville can currently host, given the infrastructure that's here. We've had the women's Final Four. We've had the men's NCAA tournament. We host a bowl game. We have the marathon. We have a Grand Prix now. We have NASCAR back. We have 3 professional major league sports teams here. We've hosted the NHL All-Star game and the draft. And you had the Stanley Cup Final done up in a way that nobody else has ever done it before. You had the NFL draft here. And that was one of the most remarkable scenes anyone has ever seen. We've had some big-time events. We've had international soccer games here. But now the list of things that haven't come here that are available, it's very small, if there's even a list left. So the next step is, how do you raise the profile even more? How do you get to that next level? And the only answer is you build a bigger and better stadium. You do what Los Angeles did, what Phoenix did, what Dallas did, what Indianapolis did. You do what those places have done. And you build a state-of-the-art stadium, most likely with a retractable roof, that can house a Super Bowl in the future. Get Nashville in the rotation with the NFL to host the biggest sporting event on the planet, to host the college football national championship game, or maybe just simply increase the profile of the Music City Bowl in general. Make it a little bit more of a primo destination. But most certainly you'd get a national championship game. How about the NCAA tournament Final Four? Can't host the men's, given the stadium set up right now. You could in a new one. You could in a retractable roof. World Cup, that's coming to the continent in 2026. Nashville was in discussions for that. New stadium, that could go a long way if it could get done. It's probably unlikely now that it could get done in that time. But in the future, those types of events, they could be in Nissan Stadium. Those are the types of things that could come. And that discussion, I think, increases after this weekend. Because once again, Nashville did everything it could possibly do to pull off an incredible event. And I think they raised the bar yet again. Next year, the Stadium Series, good luck Raleigh, North Carolina. Good luck NC State. Try to pull off anything even close to what that was on Saturday night. They're not going to be able to do it. And that is so often the case when you see events come here to Nashville. There are very few other places that can even hold a candle to the show and the environment and the atmosphere that Nashville continues to produce time and time again. maybe Vegas, maybe Miami, maybe Los Angeles. There are a few places, maybe, but none are like Nashville. And very few places can come even close to pulling off the show that Nashville pulls off. But we've reached our cap. We've reached the point where there are going to be no more new events coming unless we increase the cap, unless we raise the roof, so to speak, or maybe put the roof over the stadium is a more apt description. But until that comes, until that piece of the puzzle is there, this is where we are. And it's been an incredible journey over the last 20-plus years to go from a city that didn't really have professional sports, didn't really have those venues at all, and it wasn't a destination for tourists, and wasn't a city on the rise, to being in the position we are now, where all of those things have come together. But if you want to go to the next step, if you want to get to that next level as a city, and you want to host the Super Bowl and the Final Four and the national championship game and on and on and on, that's why the stadium discussion begins now. That's why it's got to continue to move forward. This city has been very forward-thinking in its outlook for more than 2 decades now, and it's served it well. And one of the biggest catalysts for that has been the stadium and the arena, and what sports have done for the community and its growth. And now's that next moment in time where you decide exactly what the outlook is going to be moving forward. It's the decision in front of the mayor and of the power brokers in this city, and I think this weekend gave them even more ammunition and more motivation to have these conversations, because they're needed at this point for the city to take that next step. All right, our phone lines are open, 737-7767, the number. Love to hear from you tonight. But when we come back, we'll hear some reaction from some of the participants in this year's Stadium Series. We'll get to that when we come back. This is SportsLine on News Channel 5+.